Mom and Dad had one rule on Christmas morning. Well, they had many rules, but there was one rule where we could not wake them up until 6 a.m. It doesn't mean that we didn't wake up as kids, didn't wake up at, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. We would wake each other up and we'd go into one of our rooms and we would stare at the clock until it hit 6 o'clock. And then we would run down to Mom and Dad's room, jump in the bed. It's Christmas. It's time to get up. And we were so excited. And Dad would throw off the covers and he would say, "Stay here." And he would go downstairs and he would plug in the Christmas tree. And it was the only light on in the house. And then he would call for us and we would come down the stairs and it'd be snowing outside and he'd have Christmas music playing and Mom would get hot chocolate going on the stove and we'd sit under the glow of the Christmas tree and open our presents. Well, at least that's how I remember it. But bits and pieces come back and I come to realize that that Hallmark version of the Christmas that I remember as a kid also involved a lot of chaos. Well, there still was a rule that we couldn't wake them up till 6 a.m. And yeah, my dad would get up and go plug the Christmas tree light on. It would Christmas tree on. It would be the only light on in the house. And my mom would have be making our chocolate and breakfast, and there'd be Christmas music playing. And once in a while, there'd be snow outside. But there was also absolute chaos because inevitably one of my siblings got a toy that another one wanted. We would start fighting over it, or we had to build different toys. My dad would sit on the couch all morning building different toys, putting it together, getting batteries for umpteen different toys that we all got. And it was just chaos. But in the midst of it all, we had Christmas. I think the first Christmas, the reason why we celebrate it, the birth of Jesus, is very similar to that. Sometimes we can look at the creche, we can look at the manger, and it just seems so quaint and like a Hallmark movie, right? It seems so nice, but that's not the reality. We hear in the second chapter of Luke how it starts off with Caesar Augustus, the king of Rome at the time, the ruler. He wants a census. He wants to count the people. And so he tells everybody they have to go back to their hometowns, to wherever they live. So Joseph has to go with Mary and they have to go to Bethlehem, which is about 100 miles south of Nazareth where they live, because he is the house of David. And the whole world is moving. It had to be utter chaos. The economy must have been shut down for months as people just upped and left. They had to. Caesar Augustus said they had to do this. And Joseph and Mary get to Bethlehem, and we read in that second chapter that they're trying to find a place, but there is no room for them anywhere. I imagine that the innkeepers and the people that had housing, like good people, like people want what's best oftentimes. And I'm sure they saw Mary, big and pregnant, ready to give birth, but they themselves are just trying to survive. They were just trying to figure out life in that moment. They couldn't take on another person's problem until finally one person said, "Well, I have this, cave in the back, and well, it's where my animals stay at night, but you can stay there if you want." And Joseph jumps on it, right? Joseph and Mary, just there was nothing else. And well, I don't know, I've never spent the night in a barn or a cave. I can't imagine it's comfortable. I can't imagine even that giving birth in that environment. And we read, as soon as Mary gave birth, she wrapped the child in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger. And it's not the manger that we see set up, in the creches that we have today. It's not nice. I mean, it's gross. It's disgusting. It's where the animals eat. It's full of bugs. It's just gross. It's and the newborn son is going there, the king of the universe. And the very first people to whom the angels appear to tell that the king of the universe has been born are shepherds, whom it says live in the field, keeping watch of their flocks at night. In other words, they don't live indoors. They don't have a job that is nice. They have the lowliest of jobs. And all this highlights that Jesus came for you and he came for me. He wasn't born in the palace with Caesar Augustus, who decreed that the whole world needed to do this. He wasn't born to the rich and the famous. He wasn't born to the Elon Musks of the world. He wasn't born to the presidents or the governors. No, he was born to a poor family, poor couple in Bethlehem, to this backwater town who they live in Nazareth. And the first people to hear about it are shepherds that are barely scraping by. They aren't rich. They have no power. And they're the ones to whom God shows up for first. Just like you and I. Maybe this past year has just been a rough year for you. Maybe it's just you're just trying to get through it. You're like Joseph and Mary. They're just trying to find a place to stay, that they're barely getting through. Jesus comes for you in that space. Or maybe it's been a year of loss. Maybe you've lost somebody whom you love dearly, spouse or a child. I don't know. Jesus, the Prince of Peace, comes for you. Or maybe it's been a year of joy. Maybe you've gotten engaged, you had a child. Maybe it's just been a lot of blessings this year. Jesus comes to celebrate with you as well. He comes in that joy. He comes in the sorrow. He comes in the chaos of this Christmas morning. And so on this Christmas, as we celebrate with family and friends and we try to make it just right and just perfect, we're reminded that the chaos of life is to what God wants to be a part of. He wants to come in to give us meaning, to give us purpose. The God of the universe that holds the universe in his hands today allows us to hold him in our hands. Merry Christmas.